Good morning, evening, everyone, wherever you are. Finally, a really tame morning for me. That's been nice. I slept in a little bit and got into the day really uh, gently. And I got a killer rest of the day. Got a lot to do, so it's nice. Uh, Lillian and Mama are at like their women's Bible study thing. So I've got the house to myself for a little bit. So I figured I'd do Wednesday live a little bit earlier than normal. Just finishing up my green drink, and I need coffee, but I can't have that until I finish this. So, anyway, yesterday's Q&A was about what was it about? Oh yes, did you come from a musical family or not? And the reason I asked that question was that a lot of people think if I didn't start playing guitar early, or if I didn't come from a musical family, then I'm kind of relegated to not being as good as I want to be, or not being as good as other people can be. And that's not necessarily true. Hey, Neve, how's it going? Nice to see you. One thing I will say, like, if you do come from a musical family, I think it does make things easier to learn guitar and get better faster, but it's not like a prerequisite. I think it's like starting guitar early. Like if you start guitar when you're 5 years old, yeah, you're gonna have a probably an easier time or have more aptitude for getting better at guitar faster. That's just the way it is. But it's not like if you start playing at, you know, 15 versus 5 that you can't be a great guitar player. It'll play the way you want to, or even if 5 years old versus 30 or 40 years old when you start, even 50, that you can't play the way you want. Now, you may have some more roadblocks, and it may be harder for you because you didn't start as early. But just because you don't come from a musical family or because you don't start super early doesn't mean that you can't do it. You just have to kind of be a little bit smarter about it, being more intentional about it, and being a little bit more realistic about it too. So I figured I was gonna just kind of share my musical background a little bit today, because in the poll I put up that poll that said, did you come from a musical family? And I figured it would be pretty. I figured it would be a little bit lopsided just because I know the people that use our site. I figured it would be like, I don't know, 60 or 75% of people that didn't come from a musical family. And that ended up being the case, like from all the platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, where I put up the poll. It was about 60-40, I would say. 60% of people didn't come from a musical family, and the other 40% did. Now, I did come from a musical family for the most part. My mom, when she grew up, she played French horn and piano. And as an adult, she didn't really play any instruments, but like the way I learned to hear harmony growing up was from listening to my mom sing in church. That's like was basically how I trained my ear, not like looking back on it. And it's one of the reasons. Hey Jim, how's it going? Hope your elbow's doing okay. I think wrist. Sorry, yeah, it's doing all right. But anyway, that's really how I learned to hear harmony. And even though my mom didn't play any instruments in the house per se, she still knew music and she could sing really well. And that was cool. But my dad, in the early 70s, late 60s, he was a hippie man. So he was all into all that kind of music, like Three Dog Night, Jimmy, all those things. And he played guitar growing up, just like me. He started probably about the same age, 12 or 13, and played electric and acoustic guitar. All the typical stuff. He's pretty much like our target demographic market as far as people that use the site. And so he grew up playing guitar. And then, like, when he got married to my mom, he went into the army and he kept playing. His musical taste kind of changed. He went to more of a folky direction. And then eventually, when I think he was stationed in DC, he bought a banjo and started really getting into folk stuff. So by the time I came along, he'd already been into banjo and bluegrass stuff for a while. But like that's what I remember. I remember him doing like a little bit of classic rock, but more folk stuff and bluegrass stuff. So that's kind of what I grew up with. And of course, church music too. Going to church every week and hearing that and seeing musicians play live had a big impact on me. Had a big impact on my ear too. Um, so in that regard, I think that's the biggest thing that I got from being in a musical family was my ability to hear stuff and just replicate it or match it. And that's something that it has been more challenging to get as I take on private lesson students that are older, 40, 50, 60. That's one of the things that is tougher that I would say for people who are getting into music later in life to pick up is to hear something and just translate it to guitar. And I think that's just something that we kind of naturally absorb better when we're younger, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. You just have to be kind of more systematic about it. Jim says, my family was not particularly musical, but I played trumpet all the way through high school. That's great, man. That explains a lot about you, Jim, because like to be in playing trumpet, you obviously had to be reading a lot. That's cool. And you say your wrist is feeling better after getting, oh, and you got an injection on Monday. That's good. That'll help speed things along. Good. Excellent. Anyway, all that to say, I have another poll question for next week that'll be really fun. But when I was like 12, I guess I picked up guitar for the first time. It was a guitar very similar to this. It was my dad's Martin D18, and yeah, that only lasted for about a week. He sat me down with. He's like, we were in a spot where he was doing a lot of work at this summer camp, and he's like, you need to find something to do. Let's go to the music store. You can either play guitar or drums. I'll buy you a chord chart and some drumsticks. Well, drumsticks by themselves aren't very fun. So I got the chord chart, and I remember the thing. It was, normal piece of paper size, but it was kind of thick cardstock, and you open it, and those just chords all over the whole thing. So I remember sitting down on the tile in the hot Texas summer in this cold air-conditioned room and just starting to learn like a D chord was the first chord I learned, I think. And I would cherry pick the other ones and left off the hard ones for later. But my dad's Martin guitar did not play easy. It was pretty tough on my fingers. And as soon as that week was over, we went and he bought me like a $25 harmony. Hey, Jess, how's it going? Nice to see you. He bought me like a $25 harmony pawn shop special acoustic guitar, which didn't play any better. I had to pay my dues on that. And then for my birthday that next year, I guess it was when I turned 13, I got my first electric guitar, and it was awesome. But yeah, I mean, I came from a musical family, probably not as musical as most other people, but being around my mom singing and then church helped me really train my ear and develop an ear where I could hear stuff. And then being around my dad, because as soon as I started playing guitar, it was just like game on. We went to all sorts of bluegrass festivals, jams. He would like let me pick the kind of stuff that I liked. We would go see metal shows, or we would go. What I really got into pretty quickly was like a lot of instrumental guitar music, like Eric Johnson, Monty Montgomery, those types of things. So we went to see those guys all the time, and that really helped me. It helped me see that, like all the stuff I've been working on that I was part of is like, you're not as good as you think you are, bud. You need to keep working. And that's still the case every time I pull up, something else new that I need to learn. Jess says, I learned when I was 13. Oh, cool. Awesome. And learned on my dad's Squire Strat, and he plays keys and my mom sings. That's cool, man. So the whole family's musical and you got to play with them while you're growing up. That's neat. Yeah. Lillian, or our daughter's not really going to have a choice. She's going to be around music. That's the part she doesn't have a choice on. Whether she wants to play or not, that's up to her. But it looks like she headed that way. But like Chelsea didn't come. I don't think Chelsea came from a particularly musical family because her mom doesn't play anything. And then I don't think her dad plays a little bit of guitar, but I don't think he did when she was growing up. So there you go. Like it doesn't, because Chelsea doesn't come from a particularly musical family, and she's an award-winning artist. Like I'm not an award-winning artist, man. I'm just somebody who likes guitar, who likes teaching. So just if you don't have the musical background that you think most people have to be good at guitar or play the guitar the way they want, don't let that stop you from digging into guitar. Again, you have to be a little bit more smart about the way you learn, and a little bit more methodical maybe, but you can do it. So it's great. Jess says, when I was 15, I got my first electric. It was an Epiphone Les Paul Tobacco Works. Awesome. Yeah, that's a great guitar. I have one very similar to that. It wasn't my first guitar, but it was one of my first guitars. My first guitar was a Washburn. Oh, this is a Washburn with a Floyd rose on it that was painted in primer because it was used. And me and my dad took it home, took it apart, painted it white, and put it back together. It was a great guitar. I wish I'd never got rid of it. You still have your first guitar, so wish I did. Dr. Chaotic says, any advice on hearing chords? Yes, I'm glad you asked. A lot of times, like this came up yesterday with a student in a lesson. It's like, oh, so I'm listening for this and this when a chord's going by. I'm like, wait, stop right there. Like in general, when you're listening for chord progressions, what you have to be able to hear is the bass note, whether it's coming from the piano, the guitar, or the bass guitar. You need to be able to isolate out the bass note. So really training your ear to kind of ignore all the higher stuff and just focus in on like, I'll play this chord. I'll that is step one. If you can't do that, well, actually, step one is being able to match pitch. So being able to just like if I have this note on the same note, you got to be able to do that, and then from there you have to be able to isolate the bass notes out of whatever chord is going by, and that can be tricky sometimes because you have inversions or you have instruments that are playing together, and it's a lot of stuff going on. That it can be tough to wade through. But if you can't do that, if you can't hear out of that, then it makes it really tough. So I would even just play a chord on guitar or piano. And practice isolating the bass note in your head. And then from there, once you're like, oh, it's an A or whatever, then think to yourself, okay, is it major, minor? And once you can do that, bass note, major and minor, you can pretty much, it may take you a while, but you can figure out chords and songs. And I make that sound way easier than it is. It's a process. Dr. Chaotic says, do you have good relative pitch? Yeah, I have really good relative pitch. I don't have perfect pitch. There have been a couple times in my life where I was really close, only because I've been doing so much practicing and playing that I could literally hear like a G chord or an E chord in my head and then put it back relative to that. But that's still not perfect pitch, right? I just don't know that like this is a D, right? That's something that I think you have to develop that when you're really young or you're born with it or something like that. Brick Beato has a lot of good videos on that with his kids. He intentionally, I guess you could just develop it when you're really young because he did that with his kids, which is really cool. But really good relative pitch can be learned and developed on your own. And that's something that's been one of the most valuable things that I've spent any amount of time on for music because I can figure out songs when I'm away from the guitar completely, and I may not know what key it's in, but I know the numbers, and I get back to the guitar, find out what key it's in, and then put everything that I figured out in my head on, which is cool. Jim says one thing that really made a big difference for me is that we always had music on in the house. It helped me develop my ears and expose me to lots of different styles of music. Yeah, my experience like that with life like that was not quite so probably as diverse as yours. The longer I went, like when I from 13 or 14 on, my experience was like that. But when I was younger, it was more like church music, oldies, like from 50s and 60s. And that was a little bit of bluegrass, and that was kind of it until I got to 13, 14. I started getting what I wanted, which ended up being more rock stuff, classic rock, and then instrumental stuff. Do I play drums? Dr. Chaotic says. I play at drums. I like playing drums, but I do it for fun. I don't seriously pursue it, but I can play drums if I have to. I mean, it's drummers would laugh at me, but people in the audience, if they don't play music, they'd be like, "Oh, it's fine." No, I don't play jazz. Right now, the extent of my jazz playing is I'm learning Christmas songs for a couple gigs we have with Chelsea coming up, and that's as far as I get into jazz. I played in a big band in college for 6 semesters, and I still never. I love doing it in the context of the big band because it was so awesome. But like in my own personal time, I still didn't never really get into jazz. It's just not my thing. But I do like incorporating elements of it into other music that I played, and that has helped. It's made other styles of music not seem nearly as hard. Jim says college was also a huge explosion of music for me. You're a DJ. I didn't know that, Jim. Being a DJ in college radio station was an amazing experience. Wow, that's cool. I didn't know that. Dr. Kaddock says, "Are you a master of guitar yet or no?" I wouldn't say that. I would say that I know enough about music and guitar to get down whatever I want if I put in the time to it, and that is more. I understand music enough to do whatever I choose to spend my time on or want to do. 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. at first. Good thing you're in college, man. Can't do that any other time in your life. But I guess you could, but I'd be super rare. Can I give you video ideas? Well, maybe a lot of Dr. Academic, a lot of the videos that I choose to do or not are based on what the community would like for guitarfam.com. So if it doesn't have a lot of appeal to them, then I probably wouldn't do it. But if it does, then I might. I do often a lot of the YouTube videos I do are based on ideas that my private lesson students give me. So that's cool. Yeah, but go ahead and send them my way. You can either send them in the chat here or you can just email them support@guitarfam.com and I'll take a look at them. This guitar is out of tune. Just says I started to play drums when I was 16 and prefer to play drums live. Man, if I could, I would. But like all the time I spend playing drums is time taken away from guitar that I can be using on guitar. And that's one of the way I feel about piano too. I would love to play more piano, but I'm like, man, I got things to do on guitar. But I will tell you this: playing drums has been the best thing that's ever happened for my timing. Because what happened was I started playing drums a little bit, and I realized how bad my timing was. And then from there I started playing a little bit more bass just for doing videos on the Guitar Fam site and sites before that. And I realized, oh my goodness, my timing is just terrible. And particularly on bass guitar. And once I corrected that and got that going in the right direction, then my timing on guitar just got automatically kind of tagged along and got better too, which is cool. Joseph Galasso, I hope I said that right. It says, my grandfather was a violinist. He always listened to classical music, and Lawrence Welk was his favorite show. Yeah, man. That's a little bit before my time, for me remembering that. My grandpa was more country and western and singer-songwriter like old Bob Dylan stuff. Even before that was Lefty Frizzell, a lot of stuff like that. But that's really good music. Like, I should be letting our daughter listen to more stuff like that. We could tend to lead more towards the pop and rock stuff here in the house, but I should be doing that. Can you do a tutorial on how to get better at hearing different chords? Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe in the new year, doing a tutorial, just a YouTube tutorial on how to get better at hearing different chords. Now, we do have plans for doing a learning songs by ear course on the Guitar Fam site, and that's going to be way more involved and way thicker. It's going to be pretty comprehensive, but it's not going to be for a while. That's probably going to be at least a year away. But overwhelmingly, that's what people on the Guitar Fam site want to do, is they want to be able to learn songs by ear on their own. And in order to do that, you really have to go from the ground up and not skip any steps, but you can do it if you go through the right steps and put in the work. So that is something that we want to do. That's probably, there are really only like 3 big courses that we left that we want to do for the site. All the other ones are going to be maybe smaller, but learning how to learn songs by ear is going to be a big one. And it's going to be really a covert ear training course, but in the context of learning songs by ear. And that's what we all want to do anyways, right? Cool. Another video idea analyzing the greats of guitar. Do a series on that where you look at the small and big details of how guitars plays and writes, then shows us how to play. That like almost like good, like in the style of, but digging a little deeper behind why that guitar player plays like that or how they get that particular sound. Yeah, that's good too. That would be more like an ongoing series on the YouTube channel, I think. Jim says, I've enjoyed, yeah, that's right. I've enjoyed starting to learn piano just for fun. So far, it hasn't caused guitar time to suffer. That's great. But there is an advantage of being a retired, highly recommended lifestyle. I forgot that you're retired, Jim. That's great. So yeah, I can see where it might be a nice change from, the physicality of this to this. That's great. Let's see. Jess says, "Yeah, I agree. Learning timing has been so valuable." Yeah, and that's something that the guitar players are just kind of notorious for not great timing, and drummers are the ones that make fun of them for it, right? So if you can, even if you just get some sticks and play on your, a pillow or your knees, it will be a big help. And if you can play bass too and record yourself, it's a big eye opener. Another video idea from Dr. Chaotic is play a song on mute in its entirety, but only watch the music. Oh, and then guess the chord progression and then everything else without hearing the song, just by guessing. Well, that's an interesting idea. I haven't heard of that before. Cool. One thing that we did, because Chelsea and I have made some videos on learning songs by ear before. Like I would tell her, we sat back to back, and she would play through the song, and I would tell her what the numbers were for the chords were, and then I'd ask her what key it's in. She'd tell me, that I'd tell her and hand her the chords just by ear. That, and really, that's what you're shooting for, is just being able to tell what numbers the chords are based on, and then find your guitar, plunk around, see what key it's in just by ear, and then from there you can just tease out and infer what all the chords are. Joseph says my first instrument was the accordion. Oh, cool! And I played trombone from grammar school through high school. The Hendrix, the Beatles, and things changed. Picked up the guitar 14 years ago. Awesome, man. Yeah, like almost without exception, all my biggest guitar heroes, like the turning point for their life, was when the Beatles made their first TV appearance on, what's his name? What show? Jim, help me out. What was the name of the show where the Beatles made their first TV appearance in the States? You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, like almost without fail, like Greg Howe, Ty Tabor, Eric Johnson, all these guys were like, that's what I want to do. Ed Sullivan, thank you. Fallen Show. Cool. Uh-oh. Jess says, I've ordered a new guitar that's turning up tomorrow because I didn't have a nylon string. Cool. So I put a Yamaha in the Black Friday sale. Oh, cool. You got a Yamaha in the Black Friday. So, well, I guess I'd be curious to know where you got it from, but that's still cool. Doesn't matter. I don't have a nylon string either. And I don't see myself getting one over in the next few years either, but I've owned 3 in the past. Dr. Chaotic, I already have a classical gas tutorial up on YouTube. It's just a transcription of the original one. It's not a transcription of Tommy Emmanuel, because I'm not doing that. I don't have time to go transcribe probably the best steel string acoustic guitar player in the world. Plus, he's already got lessons up and stuff like that on there. If you can't play the original transcription of classical gas, I wouldn't even try the Tommy Emmanuel version of it. Yeah, start with the original one. It's much easier. Jim says, I watched the Beatles live on Sullen. Wow, that's cool, man. Cool. Well, I think that's about it for this one. If you didn't come from a musical family, that's okay. You can still get to where you want on guitar. And if you did come from a musical family, just be grateful for it. Thankful. Some of the best times in my life were growing up doing music with my dad. So, video idea. I'll do one more of these, Dr. Chaotic. I don't need to write down your ideas, Dr. Chaotic, because they are here in the chat. They'll always be there for the YouTube live. Let's see. Do a video on YouTubers you can outshred or outplay in a guitar battle. And if that works to increase views and subs, do a part 2. But with celebrities, hope this idea works to boost views. That's a pretty good idea. It's almost like a collaboration. I think the 2 best ideas I liked out of that I think fit the community best are figuring out chords by ear. Let's see. And I think was it just the analysis of other guitar players and like what makes their playing unique. I like those two the best. Let's see. Jess says, and this will be the last comment. I'm going to be working on some finger picking soon. I want to learn Lost Zelda tune. Oh yeah, I did that. I can't play. I can't remember it, but I did a video, just a short video on it, and it was a ton of fun to play, just because it was very nostalgic. And I think I had to do. I may have had to do drop D for that too. I can't remember. Joseph says, I watched a lot of bands live on Ed Sullivan. Many, many bands. I'm 74 years old. Right. You and my dad are about the same age. There, Joseph. My dad's 72. Cool. All right, guys. I will see you all next week on Wednesday at the latest. We'll do Q&A Tuesday. I already have a couple or a fun question picked out for that. And then we'll talk about it on the following Wednesday. If you haven't yet, I think everybody in here, most everybody in here is probably a member of the Guitar Fam site. If you're not, go to guitarfam.com and create your complimentary account to get started. You'll get access to the first module of all of our premium courses. And it's just an easy way to kind of get into the site. If you have any questions about anything on the site or guitar in general, just email us support@guitarfam.com and you can schedule a complimentary first video lesson with me on the site too. Go ahead and do that. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Jess, Neve, everyone who showed up, Dr. Chaotic, Joseph. See you guys later.